But I like to record this so that if you miss something, you want something, or you miss a meeting and later on you don't get it, you can ask for a recording so you can get the material. And honestly, some of the conversations happen. Did I not do it right?
You're centered.
Ah, I want to make sure this gets in it too.
It's all in there now.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't like about this video is it shows up a little yellow on a white room. But I'm not going to bring lights and everything in it. It's the content, not. I have found out you can do wonders with good content or quality. As long as the content is quality, the video doesn't have to be really. It's better if it is, but you didn't shut it off, did you?
Nope.
Okay, I just wanted to quickly, because we do have a few new people, I know you've only been here one time, just to go over what this is sponsored by, because I put these on for free, and everybody knows free is not always free. So a lot of the cost is sponsored by my company, Kansas Business Solutions, but I also run Know Where Your Website, which is website maintenance, also run a hosting service, and a nonprofit charity that I'm trying to get started up before the school year. The scholarships and things like that at the end of the year are done. And SCORE, if you don't, come on in. SCORE.org, if you're not familiar with them, they provide free mentorship services, they provide workshops, they provide roundtables. It's a great organization locally. 712 Innovations, there's a lot of paperwork on the front counter there. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to know more about what's available in Topeka area, there's a lot of resources in this area. So what we're talking about today, obviously, okay, now I'm worried I got the wrong slide up. We'll find out real quickly. I can edit it. But I know I pulled up the reputation slide, but we'll run with it because I have the other slides in here. What I like to do is just to take the first 5-10 minutes, do a quick introduction so everybody knows who each other is and what business they are, so when there's questions later, it has some reference point. And then I do about 20 minutes of training, and anybody who knows me, sometimes that training goes over the 20 minutes, but I like to leave at least the last 20-30 minutes for discussion and specific questions and specific examples that will work with your business, because honestly, I'd like to think that's why you came here for, because you can get some of this information out there, but you can't get the discussion and specific questions answered of your specific business in random forms. So that's the form of it. So if you haven't signed in, one of the sign-in portions is so that I have your contact information if you want something from me. If I get your phone number, I can reference who it was. And that way I also have your email so that I can send any of these workshops or recordings to you. But with that quickly, did you want to start? Introduce yourself, who you are, what your business is, and maybe a question you hope to get answered today so that maybe I'll think through it when we're talking.
Okay. My name is Randy Harris. I'm with Kitchen and Bath Solutions Plus here in beautiful Topeka, Kansas. We help people love their home. And probably my question is, after a relationship turns a little bit sour, how do you get the recovery back?
That's a good question. I have a good answer for you, and we'll get to that.
Good.
So, Kelly Gerhardt, I'm with Brad Miller American Family Insurance, and I also own Noto Escapes, which is a puzzle escape room. I guess my question is how to ask for a review without seeming needy, in a way.
I have great answers for you.
Okay.
I'm excited for that question.
And my name is Abraham Cortez. I'm with New York Life Insurance Company, a financial services professional. As far as a specific question, I don't think that I have any at this time, but I want to hear the answers to those too.
You'll have questions as we go through it.
I'm Betty Barker. My company is BCP Resources, where I provide business continuity planning resources to companies, and I represent a product called EMP Shield, which will protect every outlet in your home or small business from electrical surges. And I just think that's a tool that most people need in their business continuity plan. And I actually am kind of interested in helping my daughter along this line, very much the same as what do you do after a negative review. She's afraid of putting things out there that she'll get a lot of negative, and I'm trying to help her get over that mental hurdle Cause she needs to have stuff out there, she's a veterinarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Betty. Hi, everybody, I'm Jimmy Brew. I'm with Brad Miller Agency, American Family, and brand marketing for him. And also, that was the thing, just some good word tracks to introduce the topic of that review and steer him in the right direction is kind of what I was looking for today. So glad to be here again.
My name is Ryan Ash. I'm with TaxResolutionHelpCenter.com, which is a subset of our company, Everyday CPA. And essentially, we have two passions, which is helping out small business and helping out people with federal state tax debt. And so I guess my question would be, as far as reputation goes, again, it goes back to my question last time, is how do you get people to, to kind of want to give those, reviews online whenever they think, oh my goodness, I have this massive debt, so it's kind of a black eye, and I don't want people to know I have it.
So the anonymous, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we talked about that a little bit, but I have some more specifics we can
I
talk
was actually wanting to talk more about, right.
Yeah, we'll talk more.
I'm Roger Montgomery with the Dirty Dog Pet Services here in Topeka, and there's like marketing and public relations person, so reputation's important to what I do. I guess my question is, and how do you handle a negative hit from a former disgruntled employee who was let go?
Actually, people have more issues with that than you. It's a common thing. It's also a common thing for competing business to give a competing business a bad review. And they may never have stepped foot in your business, but they want to ruin your reputation.
Can I put one little plug in?
Oh, yes.
A plug today. If you have a little extra blood floating around in your body and you need to get rid of it, we're having a Red Cross blood drive at Norwood Ford from noon to 5 today. And we're bringing dogs so you have something to do while you're waiting.
Thanks,
It's always good when there's a good blood drive. I've always had, I don't want to say I've always had, I've given blood I think twice in my life, and both times I pretty much passed out. Apparently I don't have enough iron circulating to, anyway, that's another story. My mother gives all the time and I feel guilty a little bit, but not so much. Okay, I'll introduce myself. My name is Pam Phillips. I run Kansas Business Solutions. I was born and raised in Kansas. In fact, Topeka, Kansas is my home, so I have a real heart for this town, and I have a heart for business owners succeeding as much as they can in this town. I actually have a degree in engineering from Kansas State, so I know a little bit about numbers and analytics, and actually that's been one of my biggest success, especially in online marketing, is because if you understand the numbers and you understand where they're coming from, you can really make the move in your favor. I've been a business owner for the last 20 years, multiple businesses, a vast array. Every time I talk to a new person, I'm like, yes, we can talk specifically about that for probably hours because I've had that business or ran it. I've also done business consulting. But bottom line, I don't want to say I'm lazy, but in some ways, I really am an efficiency advocate. I will find the easiest, fastest, quickest, and honestly most affordable way to get the things done. I'm big on ROI. You should not spend money in your business that you don't see a avenue for return. But with that being said, you also have to know your part in making sure that return happens. I kind of joke I can do everything for a business, but if they don't ever launch, it doesn't really matter. So you do have to be an advocate for your own business, but I can find the most efficient way to do a lot of things in your business, simplification, automation. That's coming up in the next couple months, and those are really fun things. But why do I have this? If you've been this before, so I'm going to review the next couple slides really quickly, but I always like to talk about why we're doing this. And one of the things with online marketing, everything that's out there, if you're more familiar and you can tap into that, you can leverage it and you can get more growth and eliminate a lot of roadblocks. Everybody has these roadblocks. Everybody has a need for more customers. Everybody in this room probably is looking for a little bit more local customers. You want people to come in your door and you want your phone to ring. And leveraging your online reputation can actually help that happen. The reason most people aren't doing this is because of lack of time, lack of understanding of technology. Sorry, I'm going to the next slide. We need customers, we need increased spending, and we need referrals. Online reputation is actually working for you for referrals. It's actually an online referral database because Right now, people are looking at that online reviews to decide who's got the best reputation and who hasn't. But a lot of people are struggling with ineffective marketing. How many people feel like their marketing efforts are the best that they have ever done? So everybody feels like their marketing efforts could use some improvement and or could have some tweaking that actually could benefit. Anybody here doesn't have competition in what they're doing? We all have competition, and that competition, if you don't have competition today that you don't feel like is your biggest competition, you will tomorrow. Lack of time, we all only have so much time. And digital technology, it's changing so much and so much regularity. Having somebody on your team that actually studies that or pays attention to that is a huge advantage, especially, like I said, we're talking about reputation specific. Sorry, wait just a second. Morning, join us. So overcoming the barriers, we're just getting into the heart of it. So what I work with is business consulting, but a lot of what I work with, because a lot of small businesses struggle with their marketing and their customer acquisition, digital marketing to me is the best strategy. When I talk about digital marketing, it's not just social media. There's roughly 8 areas, and one of those areas is online reputation. And honestly, if you haven't sold one thing, online reputation may not seem that important, but the longer you're in business, if you're in business for a while, it's incredibly important, because anytime somebody looks up a business on a map, they're gonna buy from the person that's got 20 reviews versus the person that's got 0 reviews every day. You're 90% more likely. And I meant to update this slide, make it smaller, but I always wanna advocate digital marketing is not just about social media. There are so many ways you can have information about your business online, and it's so important to leverage all of those to the best advantage to get your name out there and get your name out there positive. So the whole point of the discussion today, because I could talk for 8 hours on this, but we only have an hour, because I know you're busy people and you need to get back to doing the work. But we're going to talk about some of the easiest and best ways to get the best reputation online, because it's incredibly important. You have to, the better your reputation is, the better you can build a strong brand image. You can recover from those negative things. We're going to talk specifically about that. And you can maintain long-term consistent initiatives, because again, those reviews on Google, those reviews on Facebook, those reviews on other things, they stay there pretty much forever. And honestly, if anybody knows about a lot of those, it's hard to get anything removed if it's negative. Very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult. I mean, you gotta have a really strong case of defamation of character to basically to get them removed. But it's incredibly important, and I don't think you would be here if you didn't think it was important. So I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on that. So what's involved in it? You want to build positive awareness. In other words, everybody wants those 5-star reviews because that's positive feedback. But you also want to monitor what's being said. Every time you get a review, you get a comment, you really should reply to it. You really should actively contact. So if somebody gives you a good review, send them an email thank you. Send them a letter of appreciation. Give them some kudos or something like that. If somebody says something negative about you, absolutely respond to it. Sometimes if it's really negative, you may need a day before you hit submit on your response. Never respond back in a negative tone. And honestly, if it's a long, crazy, different thing, you could say, well, I'd like you to talk to me personally. Here's my number. You can give out your customer service number. You can give out your email. I think something like that is good, and or respond directly. Say, I've emailed you so that we can discuss this matter offline and we can have a good resolution. So one of the best and easiest ways to, rather than engage with the negativity, is to say, I'd like to discuss this matter with you offline so we can resolve it in a positive manner. I will tell you, if it's an extremely negative review, people are aware enough that there's negative people out there that just like to vent, and as long as you respond in a positive manner, your response will have more weight than that negative, because then they'll think that person was just ranting. You are actually actively trying to solve or give a solution to it. So again, responding to each and every comment, different things, whether it's offline or online, is extremely important to engage in that. So you want to encourage positive reviews. We'll talk a little bit about how to do that. There's a lot of ways you can do it that doesn't sound salesy, cheesy, and is authentic. Publishing great content, of course, the better your online content is, your offline service, your offline products, the better that is, the more important it is. It's good if you do get negative reviews, it may be something you need to actually address. And if you address that issue, again, it comes across as you are listening, you are giving feedback, you are actively doing it. So you want to have a great product, service, online content. If you don't, you need to be honest with yourself that review may have been legitimate. So if something's negative, don't discount it. You may need to address it in different ways. So being a great service provider is incredibly important. And this is feedback. This is honestly some of the best feedback. I will say 9 times out of 10, you'll get more negative feedback than positive feedback, so you have to encourage that positive feedback. Ongoing maintenance. This is something a lot of people neglect. How many people know how many comments they have on their My Google page? How many reviews? You need to know that. It's really good. I mean, and it doesn't have to be on a daily basis. It doesn't even have to be on a weekly basis. But this would be something, if this is a priority for your business, whether it's Facebook, online. I know sometimes the different individual parent companies have their own review process, like Realtor.com has their own review process. A lot of the different online outlets that you may advertise on, you may be on, have their own review process. If you have products and services, each one of those may have a thing. You need to know where you are if this is important to you, and it absolutely should be important to you as you grow. This isn't very important if you have no sales, if you're just starting out, but as you grow, it's incredibly important for your brand. So ongoing maintenance is important. If you don't know how to do it, you should have somebody on your team or outsource that, because you could be hurting yourself or shooting yourself in the foot not knowing this. So why is it a priority? 70% of people trust online reviews. It used to be, because we used to be a lot more socialist society, you'd ask your neighbor, you ask your friend for recommendations. Nowadays, you got Angie's List. You have, all those reviews. How many of you shop on Amazon? If you don't all raise your hands, you probably got your head in the stand a little bit, because Amazon's one of the biggest producers. One of the things that they are a big advocate of, if you bought anything on Amazon, you usually get an email like a week later asking you to review it. They also allow next customers to send questions to anybody that's done a review to ask specific questions about that product. Because even though it's somewhat anonymous because it's based on user ID, people trust those because there's no incentive in theory for you to say good things about something that's not good. A lot of those are incredibly honest. A lot of them, I just always think it's weird when somebody who does 5 paragraphs on their, like, this person must love to write. I'm a one sentence. It functioned great for what I needed. But those type of things are really important because people trust this actually sometimes above their friends and family, because it's people, you have 100 people saying something versus the 1 or 2 people you know personally. So people trust random people's comments over direct. 80% of people, again, will trust it as much and or more than personal recommendations. I mean, if somebody says, hey, this is a great product, you go on Amazon and it's got 2-star reviews, you might look for a different product, even if your mother loves it. 85% of customers will read online reviews before they make a purchase. So even on that My Google, I know for a fact people, again, will pick somebody with 20 reviews over somebody with 2 reviews. And part of that, if they got 20 2-star reviews, probably not if the one's got 2 5-star reviews. But they will read those. They actively are researching their next purchase. So 85% of people will read what's online. So if you're not aware of what's being said online, you actually could be alienating 85% of your new customer options. I thought there was another slide in there, maybe not. But this is why it's a priority. So that's, again, I try to keep this short. That was shorter than I thought. I still think there's another slide in here. If there is, I'll send it to you individually, okay? I want to get you all the information. But bottom line, 70 to 85% of people searching for you online will read and make decisions based on what's being said about you. So you need to make sure you know it. So as far as digital marketing, this is huge in customer satisfaction. Again, search rankings, if you have more reviews, you will get more clicks. It will get you ranked higher. So having more reviews, especially on an online platform, whether it's realtor.com or anything, you will get more clicks the more reviews you have. It builds strong partnerships. That online reputation, it really goes to your trust, your credibility, and if anybody knows to sell anything, people have to know, like, and trust you. They can know you if they can find you online. Again, you rank higher. The more clicks you get, or the more stars you have, the more clicks you will get. And they will like you and trust you 100% more if you do have things being said about you positively, especially. Again, this helps with that interaction because most people saying things about you online are your customer base or your potential customer base. So you want to make sure you interact with them, and people that are loyal to you will be more than happy to say nice things about you. I always go through this because digital marketing, again, is not just about social media. I will always say reputation management is really the next step for an established, well-defined company. If you are still worried about getting your next sale because you don't know if you're going to make a sale today, it's not your first strategy. You need to work on your website, SEO, your content, getting your promotions out there. Once these are solid, because your online reputation will not be good if these things aren't solid, if that makes sense. I always like email marketing, automating your business even prior to, because this is one of the tips I'm going to talk about as far as email marketing to help improve your reputation. Because one of the things, I think the most brilliant thing I've seen as far as people soliciting very simply and easily reputation is on an email, once you provided good service, having at the bottom saying, did you like the service or was there a problem that we can address? So I've seen the things as simple as a happy face and a frowny face. And if somebody clicks a frowny face, it takes them to a page on their website to say, hey, what was the issue? How can we improve it? Different things like that. So it's handled internally. If they click on the happy face, it takes them directly to either a page or to Google reviews and saying, oh, I'm so happy you're glad with it. Would you like to, I would love if you would review us on Google or Facebook. And you give them direct links. One of the things, because I know I hear from business owners all the time, well, I ask people to review them, but I get one review out of every 20 people I ask. People are inherently lazy. They will not review your stuff unless, I don't want to say it's incentivized, but unless it's asked and possibly repeated and you overgive your service, overdo that extra aspect. One of the best things I know I see, and I think it's a good thing, it's somewhat a little pushy, but that direct ask, especially when somebody says, oh, thank you so much, it's like, I would love if you said something about me on Google, or I'd love if you said something on me on Facebook. I will actually ask all of you, if you think this workshop was of any value, because I'm doing it for free, if you want to go to my Google page, I'll send you a link on an email after this. I'll make it easy for you, because the easier you make it, the more likely they're going to do it. But if you would say something about, what you learned, or, one of the best things I had this year is I was nominated for the Entrepreneur Advocate Award. That was really, helpful, inspiring. And honestly, when people say nice things about you, even if it's just about your personality, what you do for the community, anything that you have knowledge in that you shared, that you gained something from, I think it's a reciprocal thing. Because if somebody is helping you, you want to help them more, and vice versa. So if you have, especially if you have a company that you work with, or you have people with companies you work with, say, hey, I'd love to give you a review. Guess what they're probably going to do? They're probably going to reciprocate that positive review because you have a good interaction, a good relationship. And that's not manipulating the system. So what I would ask is just if I'm doing something free, like my page, one, you get announcements when I have these things, but I would love for you to give me just a positive review saying, hey, you know, Pam knows something and I learned something. I appreciate it. Yes.
So that was you just asking for it.
Just asking for it. But what I'd like to think is, I think hopefully you're here, you think I'm somewhat of a nice person, think I'm somewhat generous, I'm helping the community because I actually.
And you reinforce the positive.
Well, and you know me. Have I ever asked you for a check for anything?
No, and I'm just, that's how simple it can be, just
Yeah.
for people that are wanting to know, how do you do it, and what does it look like, what does it sound
And we
like?
talked a little bit
So
about.
you're giving somebody something like you've done.
Exactly. The other thing is it doesn't have to be a paying customer. Your business advocates may not be your customers. They may be people that know you. They know you're smart. They know they may already be working with somebody, so they're not working with you, but they can happy to give you a review because they know you know your stuff. Hey, this person gave me great advice the other day. The other thing, and we talked about as far as was the referral marketing. Don't wait till the product is done or the service is done. So in yours, you know, different experience, they may have to wait till the experience is done. But, you know, if you have a good reputation, like, you know, I do websites for people. A lot of times, a lot of the conversation happens in the first, you know, 2 days, 7 days. We have a lot of conversation. I might not be done with it, but they may have had that great of experience in the first 3 days that I had one person tell me that they were just kind of blown away because the last person they worked with pretty much ignored them, waited 7 days just for a response for an email. So just in the last, you know, 3 to 7 days, they were just blown away about the customer service. So I don't have to wait 30 days for a project to be totally done to say, you know, I'd love if you said that. I mean, that would just be, you know, really, and if they're really happy with you, they don't have any problem. I love saying nice things about people that, you know, do really good quality work. I know they're servicing their clients. I know they really care about their clients and customers. Now, I do have a problem if people are overly salesy and they're aggressively asking for that, or they're, you know, so gauge your audience when you ever do an ask. If you feel like you're overly promotional or overly salesy, that might not be the best time to do an ask because you may get a different review than you expected. But I loved the concept because that's one thing people say, well, how do I encourage positive reviews and discourage negative? That email concept and or pages on your website, I think, was the most brilliant thing I've seen so far. Again, asking people, you know, if you loved the service, if you hated the service, you know, click on this link. You know, I'd love to get some feedback, whether you love or hated it. But it was a specific link to, you know, had a problem or something we could resolve, it went to a contact form. Loved the service, it went to a different page that said, I'd love to hear, you know, I would love to give you a review if you, and you know, I don't want to say overly incentivize it, don't pay people, but you can say, you know, gift card, or, I mean, you can give, you know, some of my best customers give reviews, I just would love for, I consider you one of those, or something like that. I don't think it's bad to incentivize it a little bit, as long as it's not over the top. I mean, if you give them, you know, $1,000 gift card or something like that to give you a good review, to me, depending on your business, that may be valuable, but obviously that's a little costly. I will say, Google, Facebook, all these, not so much Facebook because different traffic, but my Google will monitor it a little bit as far as activity. So reviews need to be somewhat organic. If you get 20 reviews the first day you're online, it looks a little manipulated.
I was just gonna ask you about professional astroturfing places that do that.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, like, do you think that, I mean, that's, I don't know, I mean, how does that affect that, all this?
As far as professional astroturfing.
Astroturfing, there's firms you can pay that'll sit there and just, you know, give you reviews on a steady basis that are all positive or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, and honestly, none of that's organic. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
you can manipulate the system.
Sure.
I will say Google monitors that.
Right.
They monitor the IP addresses, they monitor the names, the sake. I mean, there's
That's
anytime
right.
there's something that can help your company, somebody will figure out a way to manipulate it. But I will say most of the smart businesses are always tracking that, and Google will shut you down if there's any, and that's worse. So I was saying, like, I do a lot of SEO. I'm like, be careful on who you buy SEO from, because some of them are just manipulating the system. They're not doing true organic long-term SEO. So I was actually getting to page 1 tomorrow. I can pay somebody to do that. I might be shut down in a week.
I guess the nature of my question is, as a startup,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think would be worthwhile to AstroTurf a small amount, at least have something to start out with, or you just start off from ground zero?
I don't think, I would never advise somebody to buy reviews.
Right.
That's an ethical thing.
Sure.
But starting out, getting people, what you can do, and this is, we just talked, I teach marketing at the college, we just talked about alpha and beta testing. That's a perfect pool to start getting reviews for a system that doesn't necessarily have sales or is a startup. You can say, hey, I'd love, we're doing a beta test, I'd love to get you this for free or a portion of this for free in exchange for an honest review about it.
Because somebody was trying to sell us on the AstroTurfing thing,
Mhm.
and I had that same response. I'm like, this doesn't seem legit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but they're like, this is the way it's all done. So I don't.
Yeah, that's not the way it's all done.
Right.
And again, it's one of those things I always think, I completely believe what comes around goes around. People that manipulate tactics, it'll work for a short term, but long term, I think it's always gonna bite you when you're doing unethical practices. Because usually when you're doing unethical practices, that's not the first time you've done it. And at some point in time, something will catch you. And
Right.
Google is not shy about shutting you down. Facebook deletes pages all the time. So, and it's just a matter of, do you want to risk that?
Sure.
Did you have a question?
The My Google account that you mentioned, is there a cost for that one? Or
Nope, nope. And every business, whether it's your personal business or you're working for another company, I have a different definition of entrepreneur. If you are in charge of your own income, you're an entrepreneur, and you obviously need to know a little bit more about marketing. But yes, especially in the insurance industry, I always advise getting a My Google, and you can just download the app on your phone and set it up in minutes. But it'll give you a full page, and it can even set up a separate web page for you to encourage getting more traffic. There are some people, and of course, if you set up a web page, there's always going to be upgrade options that you'll get because it's free, but there's always upgrades. And I will tell you that people think, well, I get a Google website because Google will rank me better, and Google won't rank you any better unless you're going to pay for it. So don't think that you need that to help you out. And if you have your own website, it's better to point to your current assets than create all new ones. But definitely because Google loves location-based. And it does location-based based on IP address. So I'm gonna get a different, if I'm searching for an insurance agent locally, I'm gonna get a different list if I search here than if I search from my house, than if I search from a restaurant on, because it does IP addresses and does local, it does geo tracking. So it's gonna give you the 3 closest people. So, and you can't get that address on there unless you got a My Google thing. So using those, it's My Google Business, I think is the app. But you can sign up online or you can sign up through an app. But they're a big advocate of making sure your information's out there. Link it to your website, link it to your hours, link it to all your assets and information. I also have clients, when they do that, it's good to post an image. So if you're doing anything on Facebook, you're doing anything actively, post on it once a week. I've seen a lot of people get a lot more traffic because every time you post, that does get in front of people.
Couple things just to share is, I used to work at hotels as a sales director, and so we use TripAdvisor a lot. And if you're a plug for them, if you're looking for those, look at them and not the other places that are trying to sell you reservations, because they don't do that. It's just an interesting experience to talk about how some of these places monitor you. We had businesses that came to town and stayed in our hotel for weeks at a time. The entire hotel's Wi-Fi is one ISP address. So if a guy's been there for 5 days and he had a really good experience, and he gets on there and he says, these guys are great, they did a wonderful job for me, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you know, a whole bunch of them, if you have like 20 people staying in your hotel that have been there a while, and they all get on there and they send those positive reviews, TripAdvisor shut us down because it sounded like the same person was sending all these positive reviews
'Cause
like we were creating.
In theory, an employee could get on every 2 days and do it from that same computer. So
They do monitor that.
it is one of those things, and that's a really good point, because a lot of people are like, well, I'd love for you to get a review. If you wanna just type it in here on my computer, you can do that a few times.
Mhm.
But if they're not doing it from their own device, it does have some suspicious activity. Sometimes you can get those shut down reversed,
Oh, yeah.
but they don't really care. I mean, they're dealing with thousands and thousands of business and websites. Do you know what the number 1 or number 2 most popular thing in Kansas is on TripAdvisor, based on reviews?
The largest ball is wine.
No,
I know, but I'm cheating.
I know.
I would have to say it'd have to be something with animals.
Big Brutus down in southeast Kansas.
I would
The
think.
big crane.
I'm thinking like maybe a bark park or something like that, cause
No.
we've
The
got.
top 2 things,
TripAdvisor, as
Right,
far as
yeah.
places to visit in
Okay.
Kansas, if you go, what's gonna be number 1
It has
and
to be
number
the
2,
capital, right?
based on reviews?
okay,
No,
Fort Leavenworth.
these are 2 things I've never been to.
Am I warm? I'm thinking.
Because
it has
what
to-
you think about is when you
Oh, the
review
zoo.
things, on TripAdvisor, who is the most likely person to review it? Somebody local or somebody from out of town that is surprised by their experience? So, people that are out of town actually review things in Kansas more than people from Kansas. So the top 2 are things that most Kansas residents have never been to. So Roger, what's number 2? You know that.
Number 2 is historic Harley Davidson of Topeka's
Eagle
Evel
Knievel,
Knievel
which
Museum.
I haven't been to yet.
Do you know they have people every week? They have at least I think 50 states on average every week come through that museum. And people, when they leave, they're like, you know, we'd love to give you a review. I mean, it's the only thing they may be visiting in Kansas. Plus, you know, you have historic advocates, you have Harley Davidson advocates, so people that visited were actually excited and they were surprised by it's a really good place in town. If you haven't, even if you're not into motorcycles, it surprises anybody that goes there. There's people from Vegas that have came there because they won an award in Vegas. There's people from every state that visit that locally every week. Almost every state. Alaska's don't swing by.
Brown versus Board of Education.
Nope. Like I said, it's
I'd have to say
places
it's pretty
people
soon.
don't think local. Well, and I don't know where that ranks on the top 10,
Actually, really close.
but people that visit things actually regularly. How many of the restaurants that you've been to this week did you write a review on?
Brookville Hotel.
You did?
No, that was my guess for number 1.
Oh, no. Number 1 is like is there a horse rescue park or what was it? Do you remember?
It's one of these outdoor drive-through zoos that's down
Oh.
in southeast Kansas.
Oh,
Okay.
And,
okay.
and Mike from Harley Davidson said, he says, you give us about a month, we're gonna be number 1 because the traffic of the drive-through zoo falls off when it gets cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
true.
So right now it's
It's
summer.
down Cheney.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
That would be Rolling Hill Zoo, just west of Salina.
this one's down the southeast corner.
You think I'd know that's where I'm from?
Sit down by Chinook County
Yeah.
somewhere.
But
We haven't been there
I
because
will
it's-
say
There were
Um,
filmmakers,
there's-
they're documentary people. I mean, there was a documentary on these people, and this was back in the 40s, 50s.
Yeah, it's just pretty incredible though, that something, like you were saying, that none of us are really very aware of is the number 1 tourist attraction in Kansas.
yeah.
I guess I'm more surprised it was not Route 66.
Yeah, Route 66.
But the thing is, okay, how likely are you to review
Yeah.
if you're not asked, you don't have a person talking to you, different things like that? I will guarantee you, and this is one of those things I always, I'm always curious about the reverse engineering and understanding what makes somebody successful versus somebody else. Look at your competition. Look at people in your specific industry. that have a lot more reviews than you. And it doesn't have to be in Topeka, it could be in, I always like to go to Texas or California or places with large populations. So sometimes you actually get a little different perspective, you can get more data. So honestly, when I'm doing a analysis on a business here in town that's a local business, I actually do research on a local successful business, maybe in Texas or in California, or something that has a higher population, there's more data points because there's more competition and things. What are they doing well with their website, with their reputation management, with their online profile, different things like that? And those are things that you know you can use to improve your business. But I will say on the Harley Davidson or other things, I guarantee you they have a little, have you ever seen those things at the, when you're leaving a place with a bell or a blue button or a red button saying, you know, if you had a great experience, click the green button or different things like that. And they may even say, well, we'd love to have you give us a review. It's very subtle. It's not pushy, it's not salesy. But if people had a good experience and you put that in their brain, you're gonna get a higher percentage of them to give you a review.
I got another little share thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, TripAdvisor monitors all that stuff, and we got that fixed. It took a day or two to explain to them that all these are coming from our customers because it's Wi-Fi. But the other side of that coin was Yelp. And our business here, the Dirty Dog, got a scathing too